So there was a song that we sang in a number of the churches I was in growing up. And I'm wondering if you've had similar experiences with you, those of you who may have grown up like me. Others will be like, I don't know what that is. And that's fine. The song was, "They will know we are Christians by our love." Any of you sing that song growing up? Okay. Be like, "They will know we are Christians by our love, by our love." Yep. So we would roll this song out whenever there was a controversy in the church. If we had some division over who some of our new church leaders should be, such as when my father, a divorcee, was being considered as an elder, if you could believe such a thing. After the service, we all linked hands and we did we held each other's hands and we sang, "They will know we are Christians by our love." When we made the decision as a church, or rather the pastor made the decision to change how we do music. We had done hymns before, and now we're doing exclusively contemporary praise music. Well, we all linked hands and we sang, "They will know we are Christians by our love." When it was time to change the carpet, and there was fierce disagreement, I'm not even kidding, believe it or not, over what the color of the carpet should be, we all linked hands, and we sang the song. And I really wanted this song to be true growing up. But I don't think it properly conveys how most folks come to know whether or not somebody claims to be a Christian. Most of us seem to know that someone's a Christian because they fit with what the loudest voices on TV are screaming that a Christian's supposed to be and supposed to care about, right? Maybe the song should be, "They will know we are Christians because of our bumper stickers." We have a Jesus fish. Or, "They will know we are Christians because we're opposed to critical race theory and abortion, and we refuse to use people's stated pronouns." Right? I think that's how most folks think they're supposed to be communicating their faith. None of that's love. Not a single one of those things are love. And yet, maybe that's what the song should be. Our passage today takes place during the last few moments of Jesus' life. It's during the Last Supper discourse in the book of John, which is a very, very, very big chunk of this book. If you're like, hey, I just want to read what the Last Supper was like and what Jesus talked about, buckle up. It's like a third of the book. But the event starts off with Jesus and his disciples. They enter the house that they're going to have the Last Supper in. And Jesus strips down to his skivvies. He's just wearing his underwear loincloth. He gets a wash basin out, and he starts washing the disciples' feet, which is a bit odd. Not necessarily odd in the ways it would be for us today, although it would be very strange, right? When Jesus gets to Peter, Peter articulates his confusion, like Peter often does throughout this book and some of the other Gospels. He's often the one who's brave enough to be like, what is happening right now? The other disciples are like, I'm sure this is fine. Jesus gets to Peter, and Peter's like, what are you doing? You're not supposed to be doing this. Because this is something that, like, the household slave would do. This is something that was seemingly absurd when Mary did it last week. Mary, the sister of Lazarus, right? I'm of the opinion that John is totally okay with us thinking Jesus learns this from Mary. Maybe Jesus had this planned all along, but I think it's okay. Like, I think there's a relationship. Mary did this earlier, now Jesus is doing it. Only he's not using his hair and a pound of nard. He's using a wash basin. And he's communicating the same thing to his disciples that Mary was communicating. Not necessarily that this is the moment of his death, but that he cares about them. He cares about them more than he cares about his status. He's not seeking to assert his dominance over them as their teacher, as our most common title, I think, for him within Christianity today, Lord. He goes on, like in other passages, to say, don't lord over other folks. And here, Jesus is assuming the position of a slave. And he's taking their disgusting, gross, grimy feet and washing them. Each one of them. Now, when Peter voices his opposition and Jesus is like, look, I'm doing this because, this is our relationship. I'm showing that we're connected. And Peter's like, well, then wash all of me. Just go for it. All of me right now. And Jesus is like, I don't need to do that. That's not what we need to do right now, Peter. Yeah. But, you got to appreciate this change in enthusiasm. Like, Peter's like, oh, okay, that's what's happening? Okay. And the other disciples just let all of this happen. They're like, I'm glad he said that. And I'm also glad Jesus doesn't have to wash all of me. That's good to know. And when they're done, Jesus puts his clothes back on, and he starts teaching about, expounding about what he was doing. Now, before I get to that, I want to point out that Jesus does indeed wash all of their feet. Peter, as confused as he is, Peter, even though during the supper, Jesus is going to tell him, you're posing as somebody who's very brave right now, but before the night's over, you're going to pretend you don't even know me. And he washes Judas's feet as well. Judas, who he knows is going to betray him. He even washes Judas's feet. And he washes all 12 of the disciples' feet because even though all of them, every one of them are going to abandon him. And yet he's still showing them this love. And when he goes on to teach about this, he teaches that this is his expectation for each one of them as well. They've squabbled along the way over their status, over who gets to be higher up on the hierarchy. That's not how that is. If I'm taking your gross, disgusting feet and washing them, I want you to take each other's gross, grimy feet and wash them. Well, what do you mean, Jesus? If I don't care about my status, if I care more about showing y'all that I love you, that's what I expect from you too. Quit caring so much about how you look in the eyes of society and care more about how you're loving one another. As he teaches, he goes on to say that it is through this action that he's glorified. And that might be confusing for us, and I think it's supposed to be confusing for us because it really kind of twists how we may view glory. And he'll go on to infer that the crucifixion is also glorifying him. One of the popular ways this is interpreted throughout the millennia has been, well, because he's going to pay God off or pay the devil off, depending on your interpretation, depending on whether you were born before or after Anselm of Canterbury. And so that's how he's glorified. But he's tying it to this act of service with the washing of feet, so I don't know how we get that understanding. Also, crucifixion was not a glorious thing. It was a humiliating thing. It was an intentionally humiliating thing. Everybody crucified by the Roman Empire was supposed to be a cautionary tale. This is what happens when you stand up to Rome. This is what happens when you stand up to the emperor. This is what happens if you rise above your station. And Jesus says the washing of feet and this impending crucifixion is how he's glorified. Catherine Schifferdecker, which is a fantastic name, is a professor over at Luther Seminary and also an expert on the Gospel of John. And she interprets glorification in this gospel as being wherever God is revealed in the midst of people. And I think that's what our writer has in mind here. That God is being glorified. God is being revealed through the washing of feet. God is being revealed through the seemingly humiliating action of the cross. It's not necessarily the way it looks. And Jesus goes on to tell them the text that Rita read a moment ago, the new commandments. Love one another as I have loved you. Now, the commandment to love one another is not the new part. That goes back to the Torah. That is ancient, beautiful wisdom. It's the as I have loved you part. You also cast aside your concern for hierarchy, for social standing, for reputation. Show up for one another. Care for one another. Now, it's important to me that we point out that this is a community-wide expectation. The Bible as a whole is written in a very communitarian setting. And John, which is one of the more individualistic of the Gospels, still has an expectation of community, immensely so. And the reason I point this out is because a lot of us in this room have lived out this text, but with little reciprocal interest from others at times, maybe in different seasons. And I get concerned about some of us thinking we need to martyr ourselves because we're trying to be loving, but we don't ever expect the community to show up with us. Or maybe we don't let the community show up with us and love us too. This is community work. Love is supposed to be community work. If it all depends on one person, that's too much. That's overwhelming. I think dying on the cross should be the exception, not the norm, for our daily lived experiences. There are those times when we have to lay down everything for the people we care about, but those should be few and far between, because if it's every single day that you're giving up absolutely everything, it'll wear on you. It'll beat you down. I think love is supposed to be a community task, because it is from receiving love that we can often share love with others. I have had seasons where I've been I guess I'll say the paternified child, even as an adult, the martyr kid, like my family had strife growing up, and I'd be the one trying to make peace with everybody. I try to take care of my siblings when, I also needed some looking after. And I know my mom felt that way often too, She was giving up so much and often felt some resentment that other folks weren't pouring into her. And that happens in our churches, and that happens in our social justice movements, and that happens in our workplaces, happens in our friendships. And some of my concern in that is, like, what if I just don't have it in me? What if I'm running dry? What if I'm feeling empty? Because I keep pouring out. So my hope is that as a community committed to love, and a community committed to justice, and a community committed to pursuing peace as we can, that we also are a community that pours into each other and those beyond these walls. And that we also be a community of individuals who also allow one another, allow ourselves to receive love and care. If you find yourself not having enough, ask. If you find yourself needing a cup of coffee, ask. And if someone asks you, maybe consider how you can go get a cup of coffee. I think that's how we do love with one another. I'm pointing this out because I think sometimes we're Jesus in the story, and sometimes we're Peter. We're like, no, I can't let you. But we get to do this work together. We get to share it with one another. Love is the glue that binds us together as a community. It's God filling the spaces in between us. It's our daily call. Love is how we reveal God amongst us, to congregants, our neighbors, ourselves. But loving like Jesus is difficult. It's the standard we strive towards, and we often fall short of reaching. So let us also be gracious with ourselves and gracious with one another. For a while, I've been uncomfortable singing the song I mentioned at the beginning of this message. They will know we are Christians by our love, because it doesn't proclaim reality all too often. Christianity does not correlate with love. But I'm coming around again on this. Maybe the song is aspirational. Maybe it's love that we're supposed to be known by and not hate. I hope to increasingly display Christ's love, and I know that this church does as well. I thank you for the ways that you've poured into me, and I thank you for the honor of being able to pour into you also. Don't settle for anything else, anything less than love.